Other than Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto and the Dodgers, the second biggest narrative this entire offseason leading into the 2024 season has been the fall of Scott Boras, something that needs to be studied. Like, there needs to be college classes surrounding the complexity of how much he's fallen. Okay, no, it's not that complicated. Teams are just being very logical and understanding that it's not smart to invest in certain players long term. Not because they're bad players, they're good players, all-star caliber players, but bad players to commit to for many years. In years past, Scott Boras has pushed his clients to wait as long as possible, even threatening to have them sit out during the season until they get what they want, and it's worked. That's exactly what Bryce Harper did, and during spring training got his massive Phillies contract. Manny Machado did the same thing that same spring training 5 years ago before getting his first massive Padres deal. So this tactic by Boras to be stubborn and just play really hard to get worked. Not anymore, and that was just fully solidified with Jordan Montgomery finally signing with a baseball team. Now, part of the reason things are different now is because Cody Bellinger isn't exactly Bryce Harper, Matt Chapman isn't exactly Manny Machado, and Blake Snell isn't exactly Garrett Cole. But you'd still expect at least a couple of these Boras guys to get what they were originally intending to get. I mean, Snell just won the damn Cy Young Award, his second, two more than Garrett Cole had when he got his big Yankee contract. But it's just a combination of the necessary context with these players that needs to be added, along with the fact that teams are just waking up. Although I wouldn't even call it waking up at this point. They're full on out of bed, dressed, already in the middle of their morning run, wide awake. Scott Boras has gone from getting everyone everything they want to taking straight L's. Cody Bellinger wanted north of $200 million and got a 3-year deal worth $80 million overall with opt-outs after each year. Blake Snell wanted north of $200 million. Boras and him turned down a $150 million offer from the Yankees in hopes of getting the $200+ million, but instead got a 2-year deal worth $62 million with an opt-out after the first year. Boras and Matt Chapman turned down a 10-year, $150 million offer from Oakland back in 2019 and a $125 million offer from the Blue Jays just last year, and had to settle for a 3-year deal worth $54 million with the Giants. Opt-outs after each year, which if you notice, that's the one thing Boras has been able to consistently get, which is good, the opt-outs, giving the player the control to stay on or off the market each year. But still not the ideal situation compared to what these players wanted. I'm pretty sure they'd rather not have as much control over where they'll be over the next many years in exchange for also having a lot more money constantly flowing into their bank accounts. JD Martinez also could have been a Giant, but said no because San Francisco's ballpark isn't as hitter friendly, which is a very valid way to look at it. He knows he'll find more success the way he hits at Citi Field, hence the reason he chose the Mets.
If I'm being quite honest, it's not the best, hitter friendly park for me. If I go there and I hit 260 with 20, people are going to say I'm old and I'm washed up and I'm kind of, done and find myself out of the game. I wanted to give myself the best opportunity. It was nothing against the Giants organization at all. I just wanted to give myself the best opportunity to continue my career in baseball and keep playing, Now,
JD is also the one Boras client this offseason that I don't think anyone, even here Boras himself, were expecting to get the moon. Realistically speaking, JD Martinez is obviously still a very good hitter, but he's also very limited because of the lack of versatility in any defense he provides, given that he provides no defense, so him taking a while made the most sense, but him only getting another 1-year contract worth $12 million after his really good year last year in LA is probably not quite what they were looking for. And now the final domino has dropped. It only took less than 48 hours before opening day, but Jordan Montgomery has finally signed with someone, just barely avoiding being an unemployed man when official games began. Despite all the other Boras clients having to settle for short-term deals, up until hours before this went down that recently, it was reported that Montgomery was not only still looking for a long-term deal, but had long-term contract offers on the table from multiple teams. Yet he just signed, and it's not long-term. In fact, it's as short-term as a term can possibly get. Montgomery just signed with the DBacks for 1 year worth $25 million, with an option for a second year in 2025 worth the same amount that he can opt out of if he makes at least 10 starts in 2024. I know his season will be a little delayed for obvious reasons, but 10 starts is kind of the bare minimum to ask for, no? I mean, I get part of it is just a contract thing to have some sort of incentive from the team's standpoint to a point where the player is comfortable and doesn't feel too much of a risk, but whatever. Point is, Montgomery ends up in the same exact boat as all the other Boras guys. He was originally looking for about $160 million over 6 or 7 years and ends up with 50 at best on a 2-year deal at most. For the D-backs,
I see this as an absolute win.
They get yet another addition to their rotation after adding Eduardo Rodriguez, another lefty. They don't have to commit to Montgomery for a long time. He's a really solid arm to plug into your rotation who's shown he's reliable to take the ball and rack up effective innings for your team. I mean, this works out perfectly for them. them, just like it worked out perfectly for every other team that's gotten a Boras client this offseason. It's been the same exact story. Some of these players have gotten the better end than others. For example, I think Bellinger and the Cubs mutually benefited, but I also think Snell got screwed on his deal. As for Montgomery, I'd say for someone of his track record and caliber, with him clearly not being a prototypical ace pitcher, this was likely the best shot at getting the biggest contract with the most money possible he'll ever get. So to see him end up with this is obviously not what he wanted, but the bottom line is Scott Boras, who's been used to only ultimately getting what he wants and basically running the market, was rejected all offseason long by every MLB team with every single client of his. Nobody gave in, despite how hard he played and how long he made his guys wait. And because of that, despite his last guy waiting just up until less than 2 days before opening day when spring training is all over, Boras still had to take the L in the end to end an offseason full of them. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.